The wine glass shattered against the hardwood floor 3 feet from where I stood, and my father didn't even flinch. He just kept smiling at his guests, at my sister's engagement party, like I hadn't spoken at all. Military service, my sister Jessica laughed, turning to her fiancé Brett. That's what she calls it. Mom, didn't you tell me Emma worked in some Navy mailroom for a few years? Let me rewind. The invitation arrived on a Wednesday, cream cardstock with gold lettering. Jessica Hayes and Brett Morrison request her presence. I'd held it under my kitchen light, studying my sister's perfect calligraphy, looking for some warmth that wasn't there. The ceremony was at our parents' estate in McLean, Virginia. Old money, old expectations, old disappointments. I hadn't been home in 3 years. The dress I chose was simple, charcoal gray, high neck to hide the scar tissue across my collarbone. My hair fell loose past my shoulders now, softer than the tight braid I'd worn for 16 years. I'd practiced walking without favoring my left leg. I knew, like someone's unmarried aunt. Someone forgettable who'd never done anything that mattered. Exactly what they expected. The estate glowed with string lights when I arrived Saturday evening. White tents dotted the lawn, and caterers moved like shadows between them. I recognized some faces from childhood, my parents' social circle, the country club set, people who measured worth in stock portfolios and Ivy League degrees. My mother met me at the door. She looked me over once, quick and assessing, her smile tightening at the corners. Emma, you came. Wouldn't miss it, Mom. Jessica will be glad. She invited you to be polite, but... She trailed off, straightened an already perfect flower arrangement. Try not to mention your Navy thing. Brett's father is here. He's a partner at Covington, and we don't want any awkwardness. My Navy thing. 16 years. For continents. Operations that would stay classified until I was dead. Reduced to an awkward conversation topic. I'll be on my best behavior, I said. The engagement party was already in full swing. Jessica held court near the fountain, radiant in white silk, her hand extended so friends could admire the ring. Brett stood beside her, yacht club handsome, his smile practiced and empty. His father, I noticed, wore a Brooks Brothers suit and a Rolex that cost more than most cars. I found a spot near the bar, trying to be invisible. Emma. My father's voice boomed across the patio. He approached with 3 men in tow, all silver-haired, all exuding the casual authority of inherited wealth. Gentlemen, my eldest daughter. Emma, this is Senator Whitmore, Judge Cassidy, and Brett's father, Richard Morrison. They nodded politely, their eyes already moving past me. Emma just got back from, where was it? Dad asked, his tone suggesting he couldn't quite remember and didn't quite care. I've been in Virginia for 2 years now, I said quietly. Right. After that Navy business. He turned to the senator. She did a few years in the service. Desk work, I believe. Never quite found her footing afterward. The words landed like stones. Judge Cassidy's expression turned pitying. Richard Morrison looked faintly uncomfortable, like someone had mentioned bankruptcy at a cocktail party. I'm sure it was valuable experience, the senator said, the way you'd compliment a child's drawing. I sipped my water, said nothing. Dinner was served on the south lawn, filet mignon, roasted vegetables, wine that cost more per bottle than I'd earned in a month as a lieutenant. I sat at the edge of the family table, next to Jessica's college roommate, who spent the meal talking about her marketing job without once asking what I did. The toast started with dessert. Brett's father stood first, champagne flute raised. To my son and his beautiful bride-to-be. Brett graduated top of his class at Georgetown, made partner at his firm in record time. He's built something remarkable. His eyes found Jessica. And now he's found someone equally accomplished. Jessica's work at the State Department, her connections, her pedigree. Together, they'll be unstoppable. Applause rippled through the tent. My father went next. Jessica has always made us proud. Dean's List at Wellesley, her position at State, her charity work. She represents the best of what our family can be. He smiled at her, genuine warmth in his expression. She's everything we hoped for. Jessica beamed. Brett kissed her cheek. Everyone raised their glasses. No one mentioned me. Wasn't there another daughter? I heard someone whisper behind me. The older one. She's here somewhere. Didn't really pan out, from what I understand. Jessica stood then, graceful and glowing. I want to thank everyone for being here. Family means everything to me. Shared success, shared values. Her eyes swept the room. pausing on me for just a fraction of a second. Growing up, I watched people build real careers, make real differences. That inspired me. That's who I wanted to be. The implication hung in the air like smoke. Brett's college friend, deep in his cups, raised his glass sloppily. Here's to the Hayes family, raising winners. He looked at me, recognition dawning. Wait, aren't you the sister who was in the military? What was it, cooking? Laundry? Laughter scattered through nearby tables. I served in the Navy, I said quietly. Doing what? He pressed, grinning. My cousin was a SEAL. What did you do? File his paperwork. More laughter. Jessica didn't stop it. Neither did my parents. Intelligence work, I said. Intelligence. Brett's friend snorted. That's what they call it when you couldn't cut it as a real officer, right? Pushing papers, analyzing PowerPoints. He raised his voice, playing to the crowd now. Thank you for your service. The words dripped with mockery. That's when I set my glass down, and it slipped from my fingers. The crash turned heads. And that's when I saw him, standing at the entrance to the tent, silver hair catching the light, for stars gleaming on his dress uniform collar. Admiral James Kincaid, commander of Naval Special Warfare Command, was staring directly at me. His face had gone completely white. The Admiral crossed the lawn like a ship cutting through water, steady, powerful, impossible to divert. The crowd parted without realizing they were doing it. His aide, a lieutenant commander with a SEAL trident on his chest, followed 2 steps behind. My father stood. Admiral Kincaid? This is unexpected. We weren't informed you'd be attending. The Admiral didn't look at him. His eyes were locked on mine, and something in his expression made my chest tighten. Recognition, disbelief, and something that looked almost like reverence. Commander Hayes, he said, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent tent. I wasn't certain it was you without the uniform. But those eyes. He shook his head slowly. I'd know them anywhere. The entire party had stopped. Forks suspended midair. Conversations died. I'm sorry, my mother said, her hostess smile faltering. Commander? Emma was never. Lieutenant Commander Emma Hayes, retired. The Admiral's voice cut through like a blade. Retired medically after taking an RPG blast in Kandahar while extracting a compromised asset. He turned to face the crowd now, his bearing absolute. Does anyone here know what DevCrew is? Silence. Brett's friend, the one who'd mocked me, raised his hand uncertainly. Isn't that SEAL Team 6? That's the Hollywood name. Yes. Naval Special Warfare Development Group. The most elite counterterrorism unit in the world. The Admiral's jaw tightened. Commander Hayes spent 12 years providing intelligence support to DevCrew. She was embedded with operators in 11 different countries, running assets in some of the most dangerous places on Earth. Jessica had gone pale. My father was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. That's not possible, my mother whispered. She never said. She worked at the Pentagon. A desk job. She worked at the National Maritime Intelligence Center, the Admiral corrected, which is where we pull our best people for special operations support. Commander Hayes volunteered for direct action support in 2008. She was 27 years old. He looked at me. How many operations, Emma? Do you even remember? I kept my voice steady. 73 combat deployments. Sir. The number fell like a hammer. The Admiral's aide stepped forward. I was part of Gold Squadron, he said, addressing the crowd. We conducted hostage rescues, high-value target raids. Every single mission depended on intelligence. The people who found the targets, mapped the compounds, identified the threats. They kept us alive. He looked at me. We had a saying. Trust your weapon, trust your buddy, trust Reaper. My call sign. I hadn't heard it spoken aloud in 2 years. Reaper, the Admiral said softly. Because she found people who thought they were untouchable, and she brought death to their doorstep. He turned to Brett's friend. You asked what she did. She hunted terrorists. She ran human intelligence networks in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Yemen. She interrogated prisoners. She analyzed signals intelligence while under fire. She saved my men's lives so many times I lost count. The tent was utterly silent now. In 2012, the Admiral continued, we received intelligence about an al-Qaeda cell planning an attack on the U.S. Embassy in Kabul. We had 72 hours. Commander Hayes worked for 68 of them straight. No sleep, building the target package. She identified the cell leader, his location, his security, his patterns. She gave us everything we needed. His aide nodded. The raid was perfect. We eliminated the cell, recovered the explosives, prevented an attack that could have killed 100 people. 0 friendly casualties. He paused. The commander was in the operations center that night. When we came back, she was still there, still working, cross-referencing our findings against other intelligence to roll up the rest of the network. My father had sat down heavily. His face was gray. "Emma," he said hoarsely, "why didn't you tell us?" Before I could answer, the Admiral spoke. Because she couldn't. Her work was classified at the highest levels. She signed non-disclosure agreements that would put her in Leavenworth if she violated them. She couldn't tell you where she was, what she was doing, or who she was working with. His voice hardened. She sacrificed recognition, credit, and her family's understanding to keep this nation safe. Jessica's voice was small. The State Department work I do. It's important. It absolutely is, the Admiral said. But it's not the same as what your sister did. It's not the same as spending weeks in a safe house in Mosul, running an asset who could be executed if discovered. It's not the same as analyzing intercepted communications while mortars are falling outside your compound. He looked at her steadily. Your sister operated in the shadows so people like you could work in the light. Brett's father cleared his throat. Admiral, surely you're not suggesting that Emma's work was more valuable than— I'm not suggesting anything. I'm telling you. The Admiral's voice could have cut steel. I have personally briefed the President of the United States using intelligence that Commander Hayes developed. I have watched her findings enable operations that eliminated some of the most dangerous terrorists in the world. I have seen her injured, bleeding, and still working to make sure my operators came home alive. He reached into his dress uniform jacket and pulled out a small box. Navy blue velvet. Commander Hayes was recommended for the Defense Superior Service Medal for her work in Afghanistan. The citation is classified, so it couldn't be presented publicly. But the medal is real, and it's been waiting for her. He opened the box. Inside, the bronze medal gleamed. I've carried this for 18 months, hoping I'd find you to present it properly. My hands trembled as I stood. The Admiral crossed to me, his aide at attention beside him. Lieutenant Commander Emma Hayes, the Admiral said formally, for exceptionally superior performance of duty while serving as Senior Intelligence Officer, Naval Special Warfare Task Force. Your actions directly enabled 17 successful operations, resulted in the elimination of 32 high-value targets, and prevented multiple attacks on U.S. interests and personnel. Your courage, dedication, and sacrifice represent the highest traditions of naval service. He pinned the medal to my dress, then stepped back and saluted. His aide saluted. Then, slowly, other people in the tent who'd served, a few scattered veterans, stood and saluted too. I returned the salute, my vision blurring. The men and women of naval special warfare owe you a debt we can never repay. The Admiral said quietly. Thank you for your service, Reaper. The real kind. The silence after the Admiral's words felt like the moment between lightning and thunder, charged, expectant, waiting to break. My mother spoke first, her voice barely audible. Emma, we didn't know. You never said. I told you it was classified work, I said quietly. You said that sounded boring, that I should have chosen something more prestigious if I wanted to be taken seriously. She flinched. My father stood slowly, unsteady. He approached me like I was a stranger, his eyes moving from the medal to my face and back again. 12 years, he said. 73 deployments. You were in combat zones, and we didn't even know. You knew I was deployed, I said. You just didn't ask where or why. Because you were so quiet about it. So dismissive when we asked questions. I was legally prohibited from answering them, Dad. When you asked what I did, and I said intelligence work, and you changed the subject, what was I supposed to do? Break federal law to satisfy your curiosity? Jessica had been silent, staring at her champagne like it held answers. Now she looked up, her perfect composure cracking. At Christmas, when you came home on leave, you said you'd been at the Pentagon. You lied. I said I was working out of the Pentagon, which was technically true. My unit reported through NAVSOC, which operates from the Pentagon. But I'd just come back from Yemen. I kept my voice level, factual. I'd been awake for 40 hours, running an operation to locate kidnapped aid workers. We found them. They came home alive. And you spent that Christmas dinner telling me about your promotion at State, asking why I couldn't get a normal job with normal hours. The Admiral was still standing beside me, a silent wall of authority. His aide had moved to the tent entrance, as if guarding against escape. "How badly were you hurt?" my mother asked suddenly. "You said you were retired medically." I touched my collarbone instinctively, feeling the ridges of scar tissue beneath the fabric. "Shrapnel from an RPG. It hit our convoy while we were extracting an asset, a local who'd been feeding us information on Taliban movements. I was in the front vehicle. The blast killed our driver and wounded 3 others." My father's face drained of color. "I stayed conscious long enough to call in our position and request emergency extraction," I continued. "The asset survived. So did the rest of my team. I spent 4 months at Walter Reed, then 8 months in physical therapy learning to walk again without a limp. You came home once during that time," my mother said, her voice breaking now. "You were moving stiffly, and I asked if you'd hurt yourself at the gym. You said yes. Because I couldn't tell you I'd been blown up in Afghanistan. Because my injuries were classified. Because the operation was classified. Because everything about my life was classified, and you never pushed hard enough to make me find a way to explain." Brett's friend, who'd started this whole thing, looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. "Ma'am, I'm sorry. I was drunk and stupid, and I didn't." "You didn't think," the Admiral cut in, his voice hard. "You saw someone quiet and humble and assumed that meant unremarkable. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. But you should know that the people who do the hardest work are often the ones who talk about it the least." He turned to address the entire tent now. "I came here tonight to pay my respects to a colleague's retirement party. One of my captains is neighbors with the Morrisons. I had no idea Commander Hayes would be here. But now that I've found her, I'm going to say something that needs saying." He paused, letting the weight settle. "This woman is a patriot in the truest sense. She gave up normalcy, safety, recognition, and nearly her life to protect people who will never know her name. While you were building careers and social status, she was hunting enemies of this nation in places you couldn't find on a map." My father stepped forward. "Admiral, as her father, I failed her. I didn't understand. I didn't try to understand." "No, sir, you didn't." The Admiral's tone wasn't cruel, just honest. "But you can start now." Dad turned to me, tears in his eyes now. "Emma, I'm so sorry. Your mother and we valued the wrong things. We measured success the wrong way. We pushed you aside because your achievements didn't fit our definition of important." His voice broke. "But you were saving lives. You were serving something bigger than any of us. And we treated you like you'd failed." Jessica stood, her hands shaking. "Emily, God, I don't even know what to say. I made fun of you. I felt superior to you. And the whole time you were doing my job," I finished quietly. "That's all I ever wanted, to do my job and have it be enough." The Admiral's aide stepped forward. "Ma'am, if I may, there's something else people should know. After you were wounded, you were offered a medical retirement with full benefits. But you fought to stay on active duty. You spent 2 more years in a training role, passing on your knowledge to the next generation of intelligence officers. You only retired when the pain made it impossible to continue. I wasn't ready to let go," I said simply. "And the community wasn't ready to let you go," the Admiral added. "Your students still talk about you. The operators you supported still mention your name with respect. You're a legend in circles that matter, Commander. The fact that your family didn't know that is their loss, not yours." My mother approached slowly, reaching for my hand. "Can you forgive us? Can we? Is there a way to rebuild this?" I looked at her, at both my parents, at Jessica with her perfect life crumbling at the edges. They were still my family. Flawed, blind, but still mine. "I don't know," I said honestly. "It's been a long time. A lot of hurt. Will you let us try?" Dad asked. I thought about the years of silence, the casual dismissals, the loneliness of carrying secrets no one cared to understand. But I also thought about the asset I'd saved in Kandahar, the one who'd written me a letter afterward. He'd said, "Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die." "We can try," I said finally. "But it has to be different. You have to actually see me. Not who you wanted me to be, but who I am." "Deal," my father said immediately. The Admiral smiled slightly. "Commander, I should let you get back to your family. But before I go, we're having a reunion next month at Dam Neck. SEALs and support personnel from the 2010 to 2015 Afghanistan operations. A lot of people have asked about you. Would you consider coming?" The idea of seeing my old teammates, the operators I'd supported, the people who understood what that life had cost. It made something loosen in my chest. "I'll be there, sir." "Outstanding." He shook my hand, a warrior's grip. "Hoya, Reaper." "Hoya, sir." As the Admiral and his aide left, the party slowly resumed, but everything had shifted. People looked at me differently now, with respect, with curiosity, with the dawning understanding that they'd completely misjudged me. Jessica approached as I stood alone by the fountain. "Emma, I don't expect you to forgive me quickly, but I want you to know, I'm proud of you. I should have said it years ago." "Thank you," I said. "The State Department work I do," she continued quietly, "it matters to me. But you're right, it's in the light. Safe. Visible. What you did." She shook her head. "I can't even imagine. You weren't supposed to imagine it. That was the point." She hugged me then, sudden and tight. "I want to know you again. The real you, if you'll let me." Over her shoulder, I saw my parents watching, hope and regret warring on their faces. The road back wouldn't be easy. Trust, once broken, didn't heal overnight. But maybe, finally, we could start walking it. I'd spent 16 years in the shadows, protecting people who'd never know my name. Maybe now I could step into the light, with people who finally understood what I'd sacrificed to stay hidden. The metal on my chest caught the string lights, gleaming like a promise. Like recognition, finally earned. And